Sony spent $400 million on a game that lasted exactly 8 days. 15,000 game developers lost their jobs in 2024 alone. One gaming CEO earned $25.6 million the same year he fired 670 employees. Bobby Kotick walked away with $400 million, while his employees unionized against him. The company that created your childhood games now generates 58% of revenue from microtransactions. Studios with perfect track records have failed spectacularly. 35,000 gaming jobs vanished in just 3 years. Executives chose quarterly earnings over the players who built their empires. They transformed passion-driven creativity into a soulless extraction machine. The golden age of gaming is officially dead, but the human cost was even worse than the money. In January 2024, the gaming industry fired more people in 1 month than most industries fire in a year. 6,000 developers were gone before February. Microsoft alone terminated 4,758 gaming employees. PlayStation cut 1,767 people. Unity eliminated 1,700 workers. Over 15,000 developers lost their jobs in 2024. These numbers represent families destroyed, children asking parents why their favorite games disappeared, veterans with decades of experience unable to find work in their own industry. The pattern started in 2022 at peak employment. Companies posted record profits and simultaneously destroyed thousands of careers. 41% of all developers were impacted by layoffs. Imagine a father clearing his desk after 10 years at his dream job. His daughter designed levels on weekends. His wife supported late-night debugging code. The whole family celebrated when his game launched. Now he's explaining why daddy doesn't make games anymore. The sad reality is that over the past few years, the gaming industry has suffered significant and unprecedented industry-wide layoffs. Geoff Keighley told audiences at the Game Awards 2024. While thousands of developers cleaned out their desks, Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, received a 22% pay raise to $25.6 million. This happened the exact year he personally authorized firing 670 employees. EA executives collectively earned $60 million in 2024. But EA wasn't alone in this betrayal. Bobby Kotick collected a $400 million exit package from Activision. His employees had unionized against him. They'd organized walkouts demanding his removal. He left anyway, richer than most people could imagine. Pete Parsons at Bungie laid off over 600 employees while maintaining his collection of expensive vintage cars. When questioned about the layoffs, he cited financial pressures. His garage told a different story. The math reveals the true obscenity. At EA, the ratio between developer median salary and CEO compensation reached 260 to 1. One executive earned what 260 experienced developers made combined. Picture the board meeting where these decisions happen. Executives in tailored suits reviewing spreadsheets. We need to cut costs, someone says. Layoffs will boost the stock price. Everyone nods. The CEO's bonus depends on it. Meanwhile, in a small apartment across town, a laid-off developer faces his 8-year-old son. He explains why he can't afford birthday presents this year. The company he built games for just gave his CEO a massive raise. People do all kinds of stupid things all the time. Stanford professor Jeffrey Pfeiffer explained, "I don't know why you'd expect managers to be any different." The pattern repeated across every major gaming company. Executives used layoffs to inflate stock prices, then rewarded themselves for the difficult decisions. Workers who built billion-dollar franchises were discarded. The people who made the hard choices got richer. But firing workers was just one way to maximize profits. The real money was already flooding in from a different source entirely. EA made $4.46 billion from microtransactions in 2024. That's more than the entire GDP of some countries. And it all came from selling virtual items in games people had already bought. The transformation happened gradually, then suddenly. Microtransactions started as optional cosmetics. Just skins companies promised. It won't affect gameplay. But by 2024, microtransactions represented 58% of all PC gaming revenue. The tail had become the dog. Games were no longer designed around fun or creativity. They were designed around extraction. Say there's a game design meeting at a major studio. A passionate developer presents an innovative gameplay mechanic. The team is excited. The prototype is brilliant. Then an executive interrupts. "How do we monetize this?" he asks. The room goes quiet. "Well, we could add cosmetic options that..." No. Redesign everything around the store. Make the grind unbearable so players pay to skip it. Lock the good items behind loot boxes. I want them spending money every session. The brilliant idea dies right there. The game that could have been special becomes another storefront with gameplay attached. Full-price games became glorified casinos. Children were targeted with gambling-like mechanics. Loot boxes exploited the same psychological triggers as slot machines. Players spent hundreds, sometimes thousands, chasing digital items that cost nothing to create. EA led the charge, but everyone followed. Single-player games suddenly required internet connections, not for gameplay reasons, for monetization. Companies needed to control the experience, to push players towards spending. Pay-to-win destroyed competitive integrity. The player with the bigger wallet won, not the more skilled one. Games that once rewarded practice now rewarded credit cards. Creative decisions were overruled by monetization teams at every major publisher. Quality plummeted as extraction increased. The question was no longer, is this fun? But, will this make them spend? The industry had discovered something more profitable than making good games. They learned to make money machines. And that hunger for endless revenue led them to one catastrophic mistake after another. One developer, Chris, survived 2 separate layoffs and relocated from Wisconsin. Then he quit gaming forever to restore vintage BMW motorcycles. He's not alone. Industry veterans are abandoning gaming entirely. Developers with decades of expertise are walking away. The people who knew how to make great games are choosing different careers. New developers are avoiding the industry altogether. Why train for years only to face layoffs and corporate formulas? The passion that once defined gaming has been replaced by spreadsheets and monetization metrics. Quality is dropping across all major releases. Games launch broken because the experienced engineer who knew the code are gone. Beloved franchises are handed to inexperienced teams who lack the institutional knowledge to execute them properly. I want to leave the game industry entirely, but I'm not qualified to do anything else, one anonymous developer told IGN. I have over a decade of expertise, and I'm so burnt out from working in games. That's the tragedy. People who dedicated their lives to gaming feel trapped in an industry that no longer values them. The studios that fired them are now desperately hiring, unable to find the expertise they threw away. Innovation is dying as experience leaves. The creative risks that made gaming special have been replaced by safe, focus-tested formulas designed by committee. Every major release feels like every other major release, because the people who knew how to break the mold are gone. The company saved money on layoffs. They made billions on microtransactions. But they lost something irreplaceable. The heart of gaming was walking out the door, taking decades of knowledge with it. With their best talent gone, studios were about to learn the true cost of chasing trends they didn't understand. Sony forced Firewalk Studios to spend 8 years and $400 million creating Concord, a multiplayer first-person shooter game. The game was so catastrophically bad, it was deleted from existence after just 8 days. 8 years of work, $400 million. 8 days of availability. Internally, Concord was called the future of PlayStation. Executives believed it had Star Wars-like potential. They were wrong in every possible measure. Sony issued full refunds to all players. Then they shut down Firewalk Studios completely. Hundreds of developers who'd spent years on this project lost their jobs. The game they sacrificed for simply vanished. Concord wasn't the only disaster. Warner Bros. Lost $200 million on Suicide Squad, killed the Justice League. Arcane Austin, creators of acclaimed single-player games, were forced to make the multiplayer game Redfall. It failed spectacularly. The studio was shut down. The pattern was clear. Companies were forcing talented single-player studios to make live service games. Studios that had never created multiplayer experiences were ordered to chase trends they didn't understand. At Firewalk, toxic positivity prevented honest feedback. Employees who raised concerns about Concord's problems were shut down. Stay positive, management said. Believe in the vision. The vision was a $400 million hole in the ground. Years of creative work were erased in days. Developers who poured their hearts into these projects watched them die almost instantly. The studios that made them were destroyed for failing at tasks they never should have been assigned. Sony believed in Concord so strongly, they spent a fortune on it. They got a punchline instead of a franchise. The $400 million disaster that opened the story was the ultimate symbol of an industry that had completely lost its way. These failures destroyed studios and careers, but they were about to trigger something even bigger. Players didn't just complain about the industry's betrayal. They orchestrated the largest consumer rebellion in entertainment history. Trust between players and publishers has shattered completely. Gamers who once defended their favorite companies turned against them. The betrayal was too deep to forgive. Review bombing became standard protest. Games from greedy publishers were buried under negative reviews within hours of launch. Social media campaigns destroyed releases before they could gain momentum. Organized boycotts actually worked for the first time in gaming history. Players simply stopped buying from certain publishers. EA, Activision, Ubisoft, names that once guaranteed sales became warnings. Don't pre-order became the mantra. Wait for reviews became the strategy. Meanwhile, indie games have exploded. Small studios making passion projects thrived as AAA collapsed. Players migrated to games made by people who still cared. The money followed the heart. The financial consequences are real. Industry analysts project $113 billion in losses by 2027. All the projects seem less focused, deadlines more ruthless, co-workers less experienced, and management even more all over the place. One developer posted on Reddit, "The chaos was visible from inside and outside. Companies that spent billions on failed live service games watched as tiny indie studios succeeded with a fraction of the budget. The difference was simple. One group made games to extract money, the other made games because they loved games. Executives who chose quarterly earnings over everything else discovered that short-term gains mean nothing when customers abandon you entirely. The players they dismissed as entitled simply found better options. The industry that chose profit over passion learned too late that games without soul don't sell." The gaming industry, worth $200 billion, discovered that all the money in the world can't buy back trust, talent, or the magic that made people care. Some wounds don't heal. Some mistakes can't be undone. Gaming companies can hire new developers, but they can't recover the decades of expertise that walked away. They can apologize to players, but broken trust doesn't mend with press releases. The lesson is older than gaming itself. When corporations forget that entertainment requires heart, Customers remind them with their wallets. When executives choose greed over craft, they don't just lose money, they lose everything that made the business worth building in the first place. How about you? Have any gaming companies lost your trust forever? Drop a comment below, and if the story of corporate greed destroying an entire industry shocked you, hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more stories of billion-dollar disasters coming your way. In particular, we think you'll love this video next.